Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Okay, welcome dear devotees to our class on Bhagavad-gita, where we are reading chapter 4, which is transcendental knowledge, and which of course follows chapter number 3, where towards the end, Arjuna had asked that why does one get forced to commit sinful activities? And Krishna has said it is dash only, Arjuna.
Lust only.
Lust only, Arjuna. All right, 400 points. So Komalade Mataji's opened her account for today. So said lust only, Arjuna. And then towards the end of the chapter, he says that the way to, of course, now you have given the reason why a person is behaving like that and committing sinful activities. Then we also need the next obvious question will be that how do I get over all this, right? So for that, he says that you have to get knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Transcendental knowledge, right? It is not, you're not supposed to get material knowledge. In Bollywood, who is dating whom and who is divorcing whom and who left whom, or Hollywood, who ran away with whom, whose picture got $1 million, not like that. Okay, we have to get transcendental knowledge. And so when it comes to giving the transcendental knowledge, he starts talking about that, hey, you know what, I keep on giving you guys transcendental knowledge, but it gets lost, right? And he said for the very first time, he had given it, right, to, and he's focusing on
Vivashwan.
Vivashwan. Yes, and Vivashwan is none other than Surya-devta, right? And then, so then Shraddha-devta gave it to who?
Manu.
Yeah, Manu, and then Manu gave it to
Ikshvaku.
Ikshvaku, and Ikshvaku is or was
Manu's
son, right? And where was he located? He was a king of this earth planet. So that is why he's telling in our context. So Krishna is giving this information in our context. Now Krishna would have given this Bhagavad-gita knowledge in other planets also, right? And how much he goes, how much deep he goes, how much he expands and how much he contracts depends on the type of planet and of the mood of the people, how much they want to listen to Krishna Katha. And one of the things that Vaisheshika Prabhu told us almost a decade ago, he came up with this formula which said that KC is directly proportional to KK. So KC is directly proportional to KK means that if KK increases, then KC will also increase, right? Or if KC is increasing, that means KK is also increasing, directly proportional, right? Sometimes things are inversely proportional. If one thing increases, then the other thing decreases. If your spending increases, then your bank balance
decreases,
right? That's the opposite thing. But, right, if your salary increases, then hopefully your bank balance increases, hopefully, right? So there's a direct proportion. So the direct proportion was KK, or KC is directly proportional to KK. So now the mystery is what is KC and what is KK, right? KC
is Krishna
consciousness.
Krishna consciousness, and KK is Krishna Katha.
Krishna Katha. So KC is Krishna consciousness. So your Krishna consciousness, how much Krishna conscious you are. And so people ask this question that, am I progressing in devotional service? Right? Or how do I know I'm progressing in devotional service? How do I know my KC is increasing? So to know that your KC is increasing, the indicator of that, right? For example, if somebody is making big money, so some of the indicators could be that their wives start wearing better saris, they start putting on more jewelry in general, I'm saying, okay? So those are indicators. So indication, one of the indications of getting more Krishna conscious, and which is progressing in our devotional service, is that you will have increased interest in listening to Krishna Katha, right? And now when we talk about listening, there are different types of listening that can happen, right? For example, sometimes you go and sit in a class and Amazing lecture. Amazing lecture from the teacher. We come out and, we are standing in the prasadam line and we turn to the person next to us and say like, it was amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Other person says, yeah, but you know what? I missed it. I just came in the end. What was he talking about? And we don't know what were they talking about. So sometimes listening can be very, very superficial. We just learn. So listening has to be followed by certain things. But after you listen to Krishna Katha, you have to think about it. Whatever was told in the class, you just don't sit in the class and then after the class is over, everything is shut off, the ears and the eyes and the brain. Also, no. We have to think about what that person has said, see how it applies to your life, because you're sitting in a class of 500 people. Speaker is speaking in general. And so the same word could be applicable to so many other people as well, right? But each will take it in their own context, right? And apply it. So we have to apply. So one is listen. Second is think about it. And then the third is applicative listening, where you are going to apply it also. And that is when you do all the three things, that is when you will really increase in devotional service, right? So it's not just that my interest is that I go and sit in every class. Everybody is giving class from morning to evening. I'm sitting in classes, right? But at the end of it, I've not learned some of the qualities of a devotee, right? Or not cultivated the qualities of a devotee, right? So these classes are just aids for us, right? Ultimately, what we have to do is cheto darpana marjanam, right? Our mind has to be cleansed completely, right? So Krishna consciousness is directly proportional to Krishna Katha. So in the heavenly planets, in the higher planets where people are devotees, they have been given this task of managing this world. And so sometimes you see that Prabhupada also used to give work to his disciples. Very good disciple, very good in Krishna consciousness, and like, all right, go and set up a temple in Pakistan. Right? And this is like so different from Krishna consciousness, and most likely some of your routines will get disrupted because of that, but they do it. They do it as a seva, they do it as a service to their spiritual master, right? So just want to mention here that there are different types of listeners, and we had taken a class on different types of listeners, this is, I think, from Bhagavatam Mahatmya. It comes from there, and if I recollect all the ones correctly. So there are parrot listeners. They're parrot type of listeners who will listen, and they are so good at listening that they will, whatever is said, they will be able to repeat it, which requires a lot of concentration, right? And we see that a lot in kindergarten children, right? The teacher sits and she just repeats the nursery rhyme, right? Let Jack and Jill, and they come back and they repeat the whole thing, though they don't understand a word of it, right? So parrot listeners can do that. They listen, they just repeat, and they don't understand that. But at least still they're doing Shavanam, Kirtanam. Kirtanam is very important, right? So they're doing that. Then there is the Swati Bird type of listeners. What they do is when we are listening to sound vibrations, there are all kinds of sound vibrations that hit our ears. What are the different types of sound vibrations that can hit you in a day? What types? You get up in the morning.
Birds.
You hear the
birds.
Okay.
Aeroplanes.
Cars.
Right. Dishwashers, laundry machines, television giving you the news. Right?
Yeah, we can listen to all the kirtans from the temples,
Birds chirping.
You can hear the temples, right? So you can hear people like that, right? So the different kinds of vibrations you will be subjected to, right? And then, so a Swati bird kind of a person, won't even listen to others. won't even listen to bad kind of vibrations. They just shut off the ears. They only want to listen to one type, Just as a Swati bird won't drink water from any place. It just drinks the first drop of rainfall. That's all that it drinks, like that. So there are different types of, there is a bull, a type of a listener also. Bull type of a listener, what it does is, like, if you give anything to the bull, he eats it. Whether it is a tasty thing, like give him a banana, he'll eat it. You give him oil cakes, or what are oil cakes? When you take oil from the seed, whatever is left behind, that is very bitter. He will eat that also. Does not distinguish. So a bull type of a listener listens to everything. Prajalpa, Krishna Katha, everything he listens with a lot of relish, right? So fish listeners, right? So one particular thing about the fish is that fish doesn't have an eyelid. Fishes don't have eyelids. They don't need it, right? They are in the water. So, so for the fishes, they don't bat the eyelid. Similarly, a fish listener, when he sits and listens in a class, just is listening like this to the teacher.
Nice.
Concentrated, right? Not even blinking the eyelids. Because even for them, that is a distraction, not able to see the teacher. So there's a lot of concentration they listen to, right? Like our Parikshit Maharaj, fish listener, right? And a person can have many kinds of, could be multiple type of listeners also, right? You listen with intention and you're able to repeat it like a parrot, So you can be a parrot listener also. And there's a wolf listener. Wolf listener will come into the assembly and make noises, right? They'll pull the chair, grrr, the chair, they'll sit down. They'll have something in the hand, it'll drop. Then he'll turn to the next person, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The next Prabhu, the Prabhu next to them is like, fish listener gets disturbed by this. Like that. Camel listener, will camel, the thing about the camel is that it chews thorns, and when it chews the thorns, the blood comes out of its mouth, and it tastes its own blood and thinks it's a very nice thing, right? So similarly, camel listeners will also listen to nonsense and think that it is very good for them, like that. So we have to be like the Swati bird listener. And then there's last one was the Burundi bird. So Burundi bird is a bird from our Shastras. So maybe it's a species, like how many species of life do we have?
84 million.
84 million? How many? Come on, class, come on.
830.
8,400,000.
Wow,
8
there
million.
comes from the back, 8,400,000 or 84 lakhs. 84 lakhs,
84 lakhs.
not 84 million, right?
84 lakh.
Did you ever think that why do we have so many million species?
Because our karma.
That's half the answer. Other half?
According to our karmas, we have to get the body. So God has.
That's the same answer.
To fulfill our desires.
Desires. That's the other half. So karma and desire. So first and foremost is desire, because you have these various kinds of desires. To fulfill that, you have to give you a suitable body, right? If you say my legs are very long, we have to get you a bigger car to drive, right? We can't put you in a mini car. Similarly, like that. So to fulfill our desires, you are given a particular type of a body. And so there are 84 million types, 84 lakh types of desires that a person can have. The soul can have these many types of desires, material desires. So they get those kind of bodies there, right? So one of the bodies is this, that it has got, it's a bird. Burundi is a bird which has got 2 heads. Now there are 2 heads in the same body. So there are 2 thinking processes in there. And so the story about this bird is that, the 2 birds are talking to each other. And then one day, one bird, one face, there's some fruit that falls down, one face eats the food. And the other one is asking that, please let me also taste it. Please let me also taste it, right? You eating it all, because there are 2 tongues there, right? And so the other one said, nah, it doesn't matter. whether you eat or I eat, because it's going to the same stomach, right? So mark the words. This is what the first head said. That doesn't matter whether you eat or I eat, it goes to the same stomach, right? Now, a few days later, the bird is going there and there's a nice red fruit. And then the first bird, the one that ate that fruit, is trying to jump and eat it. Now, the second one says, no, don't eat it. Because it's a poisonous fruit, don't eat it. But the first bird, nonetheless, goes ahead and eats it. And then what happens? Both the heads die. Okay? So what had happened is the first bird, which had eaten the first fruit at the first time, said, it doesn't matter whether you eat or I eat, it goes to the same stomach. So then the same thing that you told, right? You did a class for the other bird, saying you gave him some gyan that, whether you eat or I eat goes to the same stomach. So whether you eat or the other bird eats a poisonous fruit, it goes to the same stomach, right? So whatever you taught, whatever you were preaching, you were not applying it in your life, right? That is a Burundi bird. So that's a Burundi type of listener. Listen to katha from here and there, right? And recite the katha without applying it into their own lives. And that is the kind of a speaker that Prabhupada says that you have to be very, very, very careful of that, right? So in the planets above, people are devotees. They have a lot of propensity to hear Krishna katha. So that's why these books will be bigger, will have more shlokas. Srimad Bhagavatam has got lakhs of shlokas. And here we are on this planet Earth in Kali Yuga, finding it very difficult to even do Bhakti Vaibhav class, which is a 6-year-long class, and thus does, half of 6 cantos from Bhagavatam, like 1/3 of the Bhagavatam. They sit for the class, cry, homework is difficult, classes attending is difficult, verses memorization is difficult, we forget what we read, all that we do, right? So imagine if you are on a planet where there are 1 lakh verses, how long the Bhakti Vaibhav is going to take them there, like that. So, but there is a difference in the quality of the people who are there, right? So that's what Krishna was saying in the beginning that, well, I told that to Surya, and then he told it to, Manu, and Manu told it to Ishvaku, but then this has been lost, right? And then he said something very sweet. And the sweet thing that he said was that, I'm going to tell this to you again. And what was the reason he gave? Why is he telling this to Arjuna? Because
you are my friend.
Because you are my friend. Yeah. So immediately he makes a connection to your heart, right? Right? For example, if somebody says, hey, Sukomal Radhe Matiji is going to teach the class, Sunday feast class tomorrow. You're like, I want to go. What's the Zoom number? How do you join? What time is it? When is it, right? Why? Sakho cheti, sakha cheti, right? Priyasi, me, you are my dear and you are my friend. That's why I want to go. And so one of the things that they tell us in sales, they taught me in sales classes, the one that was that there are 2 products, right? Give me the name of some type of a product. You want to go to the market and buy something, want to buy something. Tell me something. Okay. Give me an example.
Facial cream.
Facial cream. Okay. So there are 2 facial creams. Okay. So one facial cream is manufactured by Vindhyavali-devi Mataji. And another facial cream is manufactured by Mr. X. If the 2 facial creams are same in quality and same in price, who will I buy it from?
Vindhyavali Mataji.
Vindhyavali Mataji. Okay. If the two are priced slightly differently and Vindhyavali is slightly expensive,
Still we will buy from Mataji.
Still you will buy it from Vindhyavali? All right. If if the 2 products are priced the same, but Vindhyavali's cream is slightly less in quality,
Still
we
they
will buy the
We
other
would
one.
buy it.
still you buy. So you see what a friend means? This is what friendship is, right? We tend to support our friends like that, right? So when you do that, so in the sales also, they tell you that for one of the first things that you have to do with your customer is to become their friend. And so Krishna is using that sales technique. Right?
But one thing,
Bhagavad-gita, manual of life.
But one thing, Mataji, trust also comes in that.
Yes.
The unknown person, we don't buy any. If the
Yes.
person, you trust the person, if your friend also.
Yeah.
But even if
That's
the
right.
friend also, if he's good.
Right. Now, how much of trust and how much of background you do, right? When you go to shop, and which is a good thing. I mean, we should be doing some exercise. We should be doing some research before you go and buy some products. And off late, I've started doing those researches. I had to throw half the creams and half of the sunscreens out of my home because they were tested on animals. Like that. So you have to go for these things which are
Yeah.
vegan. The company doesn't support cruelty to animals and things like that. So that trust has to be there. Yeah. But suppose both you are vegan and you're selling vegan creams, and other is also selling vegan creams, and they are absolutely the same. Everything is the same.
Even then, trust makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. So yeah, and friendship involves trust, does it or does it not? Vinyali Mataji. Friendship involves trust. Yeah. Trust is the first thing, right? We don't expect our friends to betray. Which is the biggest story on betrayal? History. The word so famous. Why is number 13 considered to be inauspicious in some parts of the world?
Oh, Judas, the 13th disciple.
Yeah, the 13th disciple, right? He betrayed. So faith is always, faith is there, Shraddha. Okay, so then going back to our section today, what we were doing, so we were reading from chapter number 4, and I was kind of just leading to the words where we said that Krishna has made that nice connection with Arjuna, right? And he said that because you are my friend, I'm going to tell this to you, okay? And then, okay, now Arjuna is feeling, okay, fine, he's going to tell me that, but let me ask him this question, that you told that to Surya Devta, who was born millions of years ago, and here you are in front of me, right? How do I understand that? And so last week, Krishna told them, Bahuni me vyatitani, janmani tavarjuna, right? Right? So much of births you and I have taken, right? And what did he say? That I know that, I remember all of them, but you do not remember any of those, okay? So let's continue today from text number 6, where Bhagwan is going to continue on his discourse. So let's go there. And let me know, I'm sharing my screen here with you. And can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Ajopi san avyayatatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Ajaha. Ajaha means unborn. Api, although. Sun, being so. Avyaya, without deterioration. Atma, body. Bhutanam, what is Bhutanam? Bhut, of all those who are born, the embodied souls. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord. Api, although. Sun, being so. Prakritim, in the transcendental form. Swam, of myself. Adhishthaya, being so situated. Sambhavami, I do incarnate. Atmamayaya, by my internal energy. Okay, so Ajaha means
Unborn.
Okay, and Api is
Although.
and Sambhavami is
And I do incarnate.
I do incarnate. Very nice. And Api is
Although.
and Bhutanam
Of all those who are born.
Those who are born.
Okay, how does Prabhupada translate the word Atma?
Internal
body.
internal energy.
Internal energy.
Where does he say internal
Maya.
energy?
No.
Where does he translate Atma? How does he translate
Here
that?
as a body,
As a
here it
body.
is translated as body.
So now, isn't that confusing?
Yeah.
Atma is the body,
No.
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 right? Yeah. So that is where the Sanskrit language comes into picture. The word Atma in Sanskrit can be used to denote three things: the soul, the body, as well as the mind.
Mind.
Right? So it can be any one of those three. So according to the context, you interpret the meaning of the word there, right? And to do the right interpretation, you need the help of acharyas. Just simple translating of the language is not going to make any sense from there, right? So Atma, okay. And then Prakritim,
Nature.
Transcendental form.
in the
In
transcendental
the
form,
transcendental.
Prakritim, right?
So
So
that is why here the body is used as Atma, because he is referring it to be transcendental.
No. Looking from the Sanskrit language, the word Atma can be used for body also. It doesn't matter whether it's transcendental or not. You see the difference, Varshana Mataji? It's not that because he's talking of his body and because his body is transcendental, so you are also Atma. Your gross bodies can also be addressed as Atma because the language, right? In the language, you can use that. Okay, so translation here is saying, so Prakritim, right? Prakritim in the transcendental form, right? His transcendental nature. So we have, this word Prakriti, right? So Prakriti, we also know Prakriti, which Varshana Mataji a few years ago used to say Prakriti until she learned the Re, that there's a word, letter Re in Sanskrit, and then it becomes Prakriti, right? Prakriti. Okay, so the word Prakriti, as we understand, is nature, right? Right, but Prakriti also refers to our Swarup, or our real form that we're going to have in Golok Vrindavan. Okay, so I could be a human being, as you see here right now, but in Golok Vrindavan, I could be a stone, I could be a tree, I could be a deer, I could be anything in the spiritual planets. Why? Because in the spiritual planet, everything is absolute. So there is no difference between this body and that body. Everything is the same. Okay, very difficult to understand and comprehend with our limited intellect, but that is how our acharyas tell us there. Okay, so let's go back again to our verse from today, and let's see how Srila Prabhupada ki jai, how he translates that. So he says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many, many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before.
Like me.
If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time, one day earlier, it will be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his Prakriti, or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Swarup, or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. How many different types of bodies can the living entity change?
4 lakh.
84 lakh.
84 lakhs.
The conditioned soul may have
What are the human forms are 4 lakh, no?
400,000.
400,000.
Yeah.
Oh, 400,000.
Which is 4 lakhs, yeah. But human forms, right? But we can go into any form, right?
Species of life.
Yeah, we can go to any species of life. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body, like King Maharaj Bharat, right? He went into the body of a deer, right? So you can go into any of the 84 lakh species of life. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And though his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the time of the battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us, although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of an ordinary, common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayan with 4 hands and the decorations of 6 kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy, bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is, and not on mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's forms to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy according to the Vishwakosha dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all of his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he's on the earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in the world. This is explained in the next verse. Om Tat Sat. Okay, so interesting thing, right? Now, what did Krishna say last week? Does anybody remember? If you don't remember, it's okay. Prabhupada says in the purport, we don't remember what happened yesterday. So if you don't remember what happened last week, it's okay. I'm just going to bring it up here on the screen. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavarjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Vetha Parantapa. The personality of Godhead says, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot be subduer of the enemy. Right? And then today, what Krishna is saying is, Ajopi san avyayatma. I am unborn. So what happened to Krishna's remembrance? Previous verse he's saying, I'm not born. And in this verse he's saying, Ajopi san. I'm Ajaha. I'm not born, right? So what Prabhupada is explaining here is that, it gives a very nice, Prabhupada actually gives 2 very nice examples. One is there in the purport, where he said that It is like the sun, the rising and setting of the sun. The sun is rising, sun is setting. Does the sun really rise and really set? Rise from somewhere and go fall in the sea in the evening. If you are in Kanyakumari, you will see it fall into the sea, right? In the morning, it comes back again from the sea. What does it do? It was swimming the whole night. What did the sun do, right? Prabhupada gives that example very nicely in the purport, and he says that it is because of our limited senses. Because of our limited senses, we are not able to see the sun. So while the sun is rising here, right, in India at this time, it is setting in USA and not able to see. Just because I'm not able to see sun doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists. Ask anybody, call India, they will tell you, yeah, the sun is there. Right, like that. So it's because of our unlimited senses that we think that the sun is not there, right? Sometimes the sun will get covered by the clouds, so we think it is not there, right? And it's very, very interesting thing, and which is to do with the Tri Vikramaya Namaha, we say, right? When you're putting Chandan over here, Om Sri Tri Vikramaya Namaha on the right hand, right? So Tri Vikramaya is which incarnation of the Lord? Okay, let's break it down. Three means?
Three.
Three.
Kram means?
Order.
Order or N. So order is like 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
What's the English word for that? 1, 2, 3, another word?
Number.
Another word?
Counting.
Another word? How about step 1, step 2, step 3? Steps, right? Okay, so 3 and Kram is what? 3?
Become.
Order.
3
steps.
3 steps.
3 steps.
Okay, now can you tell me who is Tri Vikramaya? What's the Tri Vikrama incarnation of the Lord?
Shiva. Oh, no.
3 steps.
Three
3 steps. Who took 3 steps?
Oh, Lord.
Vamandev.
Kapila.
Vamandev.
Vamandev.
Vaman.
Yeah.
Vamandev.
Vaman. How big was Vaman?
He was a dwarf.
Very small.
He was a dwarf, small,
Dwarf.
right? And then he becomes big, and then he raises his leg, and then he's able to go and put the, one foot, he covers all the 3 birds, and the second foot, and, he touches, his foot touches the, the causal ocean,
Yes,
right? And when his foot touches the causal ocean, he makes a break in that covering, right? The universe is there. There are so many coverings, right? And his nail goes and pierces that covering, and outside that is the causal ocean, right? So water from the causal ocean starts to drip inside the universe. What is that water from the causal ocean called? That drips into our universe.
Ganga.
Ganga, exactly, right? That is the Ganges, okay? And the Ganges doesn't just drop straight into India. It falls through all these planetary systems. There's a very nice description in the 5th canto as to how the descent of the Ganges, how the Ganges comes, right? Actually, in some area, the Ganges goes into an aeroplane and then goes down to other planets. It's amazing descent of the Ganges. And so anyway, so Tri Vikramaya is the 3. So then how does Krishna, to us, we might say that, okay, he was small and then he expanded himself and then he becomes big like that, right? But what actually happens is that Krishna is there everywhere. And it is Krishna's wish whether he wants to manifest himself or not manifest himself to us, right? What is the closest that you can find Krishna? I had asked that question last week also. Where is the closest that Krishna is with you?
In everything. He is with me as Paramatma.
He is with you as your Paramatma. That's the closest that Krishna is with you, right? So Krishna is there. I can't see him. Right? I can't see that form of Krishna. Krishna is there, like you said, in the atoms also. Krishna is there everywhere, right? But we don't see. Okay? For example, if I lie on a bed and I put a blanket on me and I just take my face out of it, right? And if there's a small child, and the child comes into the room and he says, that is Shraddha Mataji. So the child might think that, this is Shraddha Mataji. This is how she is, right? And then if I reveal like this, then now he knows more. If I reveal like this, now he knows more. If I throw away the blanket, he says, oh, this is what it is, right? So Sri Virkama or Lord is there everywhere. He just chooses to manifest some parts of it and chooses to hide some parts of it.
In,
That's how you see the big form of the Lord like that.
in second canto, I think some of the texts he says, in Virat Rupa, he explains what his body has, all the trees and birds, his thighs and mountains like that. He explains it. Is that right?
Right, but you have to understand that Virat Rupa is an imaginary form of the Lord. It's imaginary and it's a material form of the Lord. It's not permanent. So for those who cannot focus on the transcendental form of the Lord and don't get it, so those who are in the beginning, that's why second canto is the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And it says as first step in God realization. Okay, fine. You can't believe, you don't have that faith that we were talking is necessary. You don't have that faith to believe that there is God. Okay, so how about you just look around you and we'll tell you. Look at the beautiful mountains, look at the tall mountains, big mountains, gushing rivers, beautiful flowers, and then try to see God in there. Right? That's the first
I always
step.
feel that way after I read the second canto, Mataji. I was feeling when I see the trees and when I see the birds.
Yeah.
So that's how I don't know.
Right. So they put everything together and then they try to explain that, this is the rivers are his veins and the trees are the hair on his body and things like that. Okay. So that's a from the. So anyway, so the three Vikram, we talked about that, and that is how he manifests. So Krishna will choose to manifest himself and not manifest himself here and there, right? But here we were talking about that Krishna in Bhagavad-gita and elsewhere also. When we look at Krishna and we talk about Krishna, you will find opposites, right? And when things are being described, also sometimes in poetry also you will find opposites, right? For example, we might say that there is a Ganges river that is flowing, right? Beautiful Ganges is flowing, serene, nice, right? And in the Ganges, we will typically see flowers, right, growing where the Ganges is pure. And so what would be the flower that typically grows in water?
Lotus.
Lotus.
The lotus, right? So we can say that the lotus is born from the Ganges. Right? Now, if in my poetry, if I'm saying that lotus is born from the Ganges, we all know. Now I say Ganges is born from the lotus. Ganges is born from the lotus, very difficult to understand. So this is opposites. It's called Virodhabhas. When some things appear to be natural and the norm, what is being said is the opposite of that. Right? It appears to that and needs some explanation to be given. So in the previous verse, when he said, Bahuni me vyatitani, Janmani tava Arjuna, he's saying a lot of births have been given. And in his words, he's saying, Ajopi san. He's saying, I don't have a birth, right? So how do we explain that the lotus, that the Ganges comes out of lotus? So, Namaha Pankaj Nabhaya, Namaha Pankaj Naline. So that is yes. So what is Angrehe? What is Pankaj Angrehe? Fingers on his feet, right? So those are lotus. Now, from where does Ganges come? I told you just now.
From the lotus feet of the Lord.
From the lotus feet of the Lord, right? Because his fingers, Angrihi, went and scratched that covering on the universe and the Ganges. So from there, Ganges is born. The Ganges is born from the lotus. So that's the beauty. That's the beauty of poetry, right? So what the poet is thinking, what is exactly in the poet's heart, and what he's thinking is something very, very different. So anyway, so here also, similarly, we see Virodhabhas here. Right now, so Komal Radhe Mataji, what are the 6 opulences of the Lord?
Most beautiful.
Aishwarya Samagrasya Viryasya Yasasa Shriya Jnana Vairagya Yoschaiva Shannam Bhaga Itingana. Full wealth, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation.
Okay. So Krishna has got full wealth, right? and we say he's a thief. So if Varshana Mataji goes to her room and she picks up her purse and she takes 100 rupees out of it or 500 rupees out of it, is she a thief?
No.
No.
No. So why is Krishna called a thief? Right? So this is Virodhabhas. Why is Krishna called a thief? There's nothing wrong in Krishna stealing. We say he's stealing. Like sometimes people say, oh, your God is a thief. How can you worship a thief? Well, my dear, you don't have the concept that he owns everything. He just picks it up from wherever he wants to pick it up. And that's his Leela. And through
That's
his
right.
Leela of, stealing the butter, he's trying to explain that to you that, hey, buddy, don't get irritated that I picked up your butter. It already belongs to me. Till we give up that sense of ownership that this is mine, we will continue to be attached to this. And punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam. Right? Again and again, we will die and we will go into the womb of some mother. And what happens in the womb of some mother is something we talked about last week in details. Right? 3rd canto, 31st chapter of Bhagavatam, right? You don't want to read it again. It was pretty gory in our first time reading. Okay. So we'll find that sometimes there is a Virodhabhas. There is a opposites in what they're saying. But then we understood here that, it's the transcendental body. And then Prabhupada explains it very nicely in the verse where he says that, he doesn't, what is actually incarnation? So sometimes people always think of like God has to be something better than us. So I have got 2 hands, so God should have 4. And so they will say, the Vishnu is the greatest. So there's always this fight going on. The Vishnu is greater or Krishna is greater, Vishnu is greater, Krishna is greater, like that. But Swayam Rupa, Krishna's original form is 2-handed. And you also see in the Christian religion that they say, God made man in his image. Right? The image, what is my image? 2 hands. So God is also like that in his original form. So what he does is that he will incarnate. So incarnate basically means descending, right? So when your aeroplane is in the air and flying to India, and then the air hostess comes and says, "Kuch hi kshanon mein aapka viman Nayi Delhi ko," what does that mean? That in a few minutes, your aeroplane is going to now touch down the city of New Delhi, and the temperature outside is 45 degrees centigrade, like that. It usually is that hot. Anyway, so when you are descending from the aeroplane, do you change your body? No. You just come as you were within the very same body, you come down. So descent means that you're from a higher level, you just came down, right? You are on a slide, you came down, same body. Similarly, Krishna, incarnation basically means that you are descending. You were there and he just comes to our planetary system, our planet to be precise, like that. And then the way Krishna is born is not the normal method of conception, right? And the normal method of conception, we read that last week, right? In the 31st chapter, right? Reta Kana, from the sperm, when it combines with the ovum, then on the 5th night, it becomes bubbly, and all that whole 9 yards are there, right? So there has to be a sperm, there has to be an ovum that has to combine, and then the baby grows inside the womb, and so on and so forth, right? But how Krishna is born is not the way. Krishna, who are Krishna's parents?
Devaki was there.
Devaki and Vasudeva.
Devaki and Vasudeva. Okay. And Krishna's incarnation, Vamana, who are his parents? Kashyap Muni and Aditi. And Aditi, right? So who are Kashyap Muni and Aditi? They are Vasudeva and Devaki. Again, in the other birth, right? So like that. So anyway, so when Krishna is conceived, and this is from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, when Krishna is conceived, how does that conception take place, right? How does he enter the womb of Devaki, right? He starts from the mind of Vasudeva, because Vasudeva and Prishni, right? Devaki's other name is also Prishni Garbha, right? So Vasudeva and Devaki, they pray for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, very extreme austerity they do to be able to become parents of Krishna. That's their desire. They want to have Krishna as their child. So what rasa is that?
Vatsalya rasa.
Vatsalya rasa, right? Yeah. So they have that Vatsalya rasa. They want to have Krishna, because they don't want to have Krishna as the father, right? Why? Because when Krishna is your father, he's supposed to provide things for you. But when you are Krishna's father, you will provide Krishna. So that seva bhav is so much there, right? That I want to be the parents of Krishna. Of course, right? And Krishna reaches teenage, then we'll be in trouble. Anyway, so it starts from the mind of Vasudeva, then it actually starts from the heart of Vasudeva, and then to his mind, and then from his mind, Krishna moves to the mind of Devaki, and then goes to the heart of Devaki, and from there goes to the womb of Devaki, right? Now, as a prelude to this birth of Krishna that we know 5,000 years ago, we know there was a Akashvani, right? A voice in the air saying that, hey, the 8th son of Devaki is going to kill you, you cruel king Kamsa, right?
Yogamaya.
So everybody, so where are Krishna and Devaki, Vasudeva and Devaki, they have been thrown into the jail, right? And so inside the jails, 7 people have been born, 7 kids have been born earlier, and they were all killed by Kamsa. And then this 8th is about to be born. And Devaki is very stressed out because she's seeing all 7 of them being killed. So how difficult it is for a mom to see the child killed in front of her eyes, right? So she's very afraid, and she's even more afraid because this is the 8th one, right? Is going to kill Kamsa. So she knows that her brother is very cruel and will not leave any stone unturned to kill Krishna like that. So the child is born, but then Krishna, shows the 4-handed form to Devaki and Vasudeva, so that they know. Because the interesting thing was that Narad Muni, as he does, right? But the Narad Muni does, he goes about, and there's a reason why he goes and speaks and utters certain sentences. So anyway, when this whole thing was going on, when this voice from the air said that the 8th son of Devaki is going to kill you, then Vasudeva, who's recently married just a few hours ago to this Devaki, he is he's now got the responsibility of taking care of the wife, right, and protecting her. So then he reasons with Kamsa, and he says that, look here, it's only the 8th child that's going to kill you, and it's said, right, and not the other 7. So don't kill your sister, because it's a sin to kill your sister who's just married, right? Don't do that. And we will give our children to you, and you can do whatever you want to do with them. So he pacifies him at that time, so that because he is already Kamsa is holding the hair of Devaki and has got a sword in his hand, is about to chop off her head. So Vasudeva then intervenes like that, right? So he has done that. But now Kamsa is very ready now for the 8th, right? Watching the 8th one. And then Narada comes and says that, you know what? These things are very tricky. Number one, we don't know how many kids they are going to have, right? Those days people could have as many kids. Nowadays, having one kid itself is a big nightmare, and bringing that kid up is a bigger one. So now he says, we don't know from where you're going to count, from here, from the beginning to the end, or from the end to the beginning. So you really don't know which one is the 8th one. So then Kamsa says, yeah, you're right, I'll kill all of them. Right? So the 7 are killed. And so now this one is for sure, this is the 8th one. And so Devaki is very, very scared that Kamsa is definitely going to kill. And so as soon as Krishna shows his 4-hand form, Devaki is like, no, he'll kill you. You come, please come in your 2 hands form. Because that's the mother's heart. Yeah. Mother heart is seeing him just as a son, as a child. Is not seeing, although he's doing all these things, still sees him as a son, right? It's the same Yashoda, same thing happened to Yashoda also, right? When Krishna eats some mud, and she says, open your mouth, he opens his mouth, and she sees the whole Brahman, and he says, yeah, nothing, forgets about it. This mother's heart refuses to accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that bhava is still there, that rasa of being a mother is still there. Because if you don't forget that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how will you run after him with a stick in your hand, right? You won't do that to Krishna.
Forgetfulness.
So anyway, so she's so scared, and she says, because she doesn't think that, 2 hand or 4 hand, it doesn't matter, right? And so, very interesting thing in this verse that Krishna brings up, and let me bring the verse again up over here, is that, so the general topic that is happening here is about birth, right? It's about birth, that how many births you have taken. First, it was like, oh, this, I had told it so many years ago. And, and then you have forgotten it. And then it comes to birth. You have forgotten your births also, Arjuna. And now he's telling about his birth. Like, the topic here is birth. How many births one had, and so on and so forth, right? Remembering it, forgetting it. Now he says, Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishvaropi san, prakritim swam adhishtaya, sambhavami atmayaya. So he's trying to convey this fact that I have got, I am unborn, I have a transcendental body, and I appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form, right? So if you look at this particular statement, although I'm unborn, and let me see if I can, just go a little bit more into this, go into this sentence a little bit more. Just give me a second here. Okay, I'm going to start sharing my stop and start sharing a proper screen here. So he's trying to convey the information that, he is unborn and his transcendental body never deteriorates, but he still comes in his original transcendental form. So the main thing that he's trying to convey here is this sentence: although I'm unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. This one would have been sufficient statement to convey the message that he's trying to convey. But he adds this line, although I am the Lord of all the living entities. If you look at this verse over here, it says, Bhutanam Ishvaropi San. So two quick things that we had talked about was Bhutanam. We said embodied living beings. Ishvaro, I am the controller of them, right? So I'm the controller of them, right? So why does he have to bring this thing here? I'm the controller of everyone. We are talking about birth and death. We are talking about forgetfulness and remembrance. You tell me you have got a transcendental birth. Yeah, we know that you come from Vasudev's high head and you go into Devaki's mind and to his heart and then to her womb. We know that. That's why he brings in this concept. It seems to be like, it is unrelated, and, but Prabhupada, explains that. The Parpana Acharyas also explained that to us, that, there is a reason he's saying, he's reminding all of us that, you can put some fair and lovely, or you can put that cream that Vindhyavali Mataji sells, right? And you can become very fair and lovely, and you can be, no wrinkles on the face or whatever wrinkle reducing cream that you can apply, and you might look youthful, you're not aging, you can do all that. But remember, Krishna is the supreme controller. And everything that this body is going to do or is capable of doing actually, happens under the modes of the material nature. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham niti manyate. See, he's reminding again that, okay, all those things are there. People can, a yogi can live for many, many years, right? Like Vyasadeva is still alive. So is he God? His incarnation, a Saktya avatar of God, right? He's not Krishna himself, he's a soul. Like that. So there are many yogis who are still alive and still living, but they are not God. So we have to remember, and that's what Prabhupada says in the purport. Prabhupada says that ask them, if somebody comes and says, I'm God, ask them to remember what they ate, like on February 16, 2015. They won't remember that, right? So because God has got these special, qualities and these special properties and this special power he has got, right? And so we have to remember that he is the supreme controller, and that same supreme controller who controls us because of love for us, right? Because of love for us, he comes millennium after millennium. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. Paritranaya sadhunam is the main thing. Vinashaya chaduskritam can be done by his expansions like Vishnu, etc. They can come and kill and do it, everything. He comes here primarily to meet the devotees of the Lord. That is the main reason that Krishna comes here. So in this particular verse, we see that there is a little bit of, appears to be like, why are we talking about this in this particular chapter? But there is a particular reason that we are doing this particular thing there, right? So, and then also we see that in his body, when he's there in this transcendental body, and because his body is transcendental, it might appear to us, right? It might appear to us that, well, one thing was Prabhupada said that because of our defective senses, we are not able to see the sun, although it is there in some other part, right? And it's just that the earth turned and we are not able to see it now, right? Or the sun moved and we are not able to see it now, right? Prabhupada also gives a very nice description, explanation of the same phenomena. He says, suppose that I'm sitting here in this room, and then there is, of course, there are walls, and then there is a window over here. Okay. Now I peep out of the window and I see a horse running, right? And then I say that, oh, the horse was here, the horse is gone now. But actually what is happening is that outside my room, there is a field, right? There's a square field. And on that square field, this horse is constantly running like that, right? So it'll make one turn and then it'll pass my window and I look at it, I'll say, oh, the horse is here and the horse is gone. Horse is here, horse is gone. Similarly, Krishna is here, Krishna is gone. Krishna is here, Krishna is gone. Now, if I want to see the horse all the time, what do I have to do? What is it that is preventing me from seeing the horse?
You have to go outside and go to the field and see.
Suppose I am, stuck to this post. What do I have to do to be able to see the horse from where I am?
You have to go outside, not through window.
No, but you're stuck.
You're stuck. Okay.
You will send your representatives to see.
We have a delegator in our team here. Delegation is not.
I don't think we can
What
see.
is it that is, answer that question I asked, what is it that is preventing you from seeing the horse when it is in other part of the field?
Our defects.
So,
You have vision.
Okay, yeah. And what is it that is preventing you from seeing? What is it that is preventing? When it was window, I was
the walls,
the walls, right? So if I break the walls, then I'll be able to see the horse, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that is what we have to do. We have to break down the walls. And you all told me that Krishna is in our heart, right? And for you, he's there forever. Always he's there. Always. Right? He's always there. We talk about that story, right? Two birds sitting on a tree. So he's always there for us. All that we have to do is we have to break down those walls to be able to see it. And what is it? Why is it? There's Krishna. And how did he describe himself here in these words? Some of the qualities of Krishna that were described here.
I'm unborn.
Unborn, right? What else?
I'm the Lord of everyone.
He's the Lord of everyone, right? So there's a Lord of everyone sitting in our heart. The only reason we don't see the Lord there is because I think that I am the Lord. The moment that feeling will go away from us, that I am the Lord, right? Then Krishna will reveal himself. Okay. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult to understand Krishna. Very, very difficult to understand Krishna. And people might think that, I can sit in classes, I can go and pass the classes, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti, whatever, the next comes the class, right? Bhakti Sarvabhauma. There's so many classes that you can attend, right? You can pay money for some of them, not pay money. You can buy books, go to library. We can do all of that to try to understand Krishna, right? But there's a very nice verse, and this actually comes from the prayers of Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, he's the controller of this universe. And when you are at such a high position, there are chances that it can hit the head. And we might think that, I am the Lord, and that this little boy over there, I don't think he's Krishna, and I don't know why, he, says this and says that to people, and I don't think he's like that. So that's what happened to Brahma. So he was vimohan. His memory got, disrupted. And so Brahma, what did he do?
Pray.
In Brahma Vimohan Leela, what does Brahma do?
He hid all the gopas and the cows,
And
calves.
the cows, right?
And-
Exactly. So he
Yeah.
hid all the cows and the calves, right? And then what did Krishna do?
He created again.
Created again.
Created
He
again.
expanded himself into all the cows and the calves, right? And then it was a long time, like a year, right? And then, which was a very short period of time for Brahma. And then when Brahma realizes all that had happened, then Brahma feels ashamed and then he prays, right? In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, there are prayers of Brahma. So I picked up one verse from there, which is to how to understand Krishna. And it's a beautiful verse there. So I'm just going to bring that up.
Isvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha.
That's not Srimad Bhagavatam.
No.
That's not Bhagavatam, Mataji. That's Brahma Samhita. So this is Bhagavatam, 10th canto, right? Brahma Samhita also Brahma says, but that's a different one. Yeah. Okay. And this is about understanding Krishna, right? Ishvara Parma Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha is not talking about how to understand Krishna. How will we understand, right? Because this is difficult. Krishna also says later on in Bhagavad-gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha. So my birth and that the person understands that. So the question here is that we are in verse number 6 and we are getting confused. He's saying Ajopi son. And then previous verse here, Bhuni me vyatitani. And then to say that, I understand all these things, and to understand basically is to also realize it. Then this verse, which is from Bhagavatam, it says, Athapi deva, Athapi te deva padam bhujadvaya prasadaleshanughrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. And what does it mean? It says, my Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace means lesha, one, filament of mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. Chiram Vichinvan. Chiram Vichinvan means Chiram means very long time, and Vichinvan means you're speculating. So people can sit and they can speculate, they can do whatever, sit down, have goshtis and think of how is God, how is God, how is God. So there's this very famous poem which talks about the 6 men from Hindustan, 6 blind men from Hindustan who were looking at an elephant, right? And why from Hindustan? Because elephants are found in Hindustan, right, in India. And each one of them is touching. They're all blind like us. We can't see Krishna, but we try to, speculate and say, oh, Krishna, no, Krishna is like a trunk. Oh, no, Krishna is like a tree. No, he's like a fan. Come on, he's like a rope. He's like a snake. He's like this. He's like that, right? And this is exactly what happens to those who are speculating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? But how are we going to get it? We are going to get it when there is a lesha, just a small mercy of the Lord. And how do we get the mercy of the Lord? Through devotional service of the Lord. And once you're doing devotional service of the Lord properly, then the gyan, gyan will come. So it says, bhakti pareshanubhava. Bhakti pareshanubhava means that when you do bhakti of para isha, paresha is para plus isha. Isha means controller. And para is transcendental. Right? In today's verse also he's saying, I'm the transcendental controller, right? So bhakti pareshanubhava. Viraktir tri aneka kalaha. So he says that when you do bhakti of the Supreme Controller, then virakti is detachment. Right? So the things are going to happen to you when you do devotional service of the Lord. Viraktir is one of them. Viraktir tri anya eka kala, etc. will all happen simultaneously, one by one. Right? How? Right? Tushti pushti shud apayonu ghasam. Just as when you start to eat, when you're hungry and you start to eat the food, simultaneously 3 things happen, right? You feel the taste, you feel the nourishment, your hunger subsides and it goes down, right? So similarly, when you're doing devotional service to the Lord, then virakti is going to happen. Virakti means when you become detached from the material things, right? The detachment from material. And to get to be detached from material, to which we are very attached, right? So I'm very attached to this mouse, okay? And so to be detached from this mouse, I have to get some knowledge about what this mouse is and also what I am, so that I can cut this relationship of attachment. Asanga sastrena dhirnena chitva. So I have to remove these relationships, right? So you have to get some gyan. With that gyan, when you are armed with that knowledge, then you will be able to detach yourself from the mouse, like that, right? So only by devotional service to the Lord will we be able to understand these different types of Jan and birth and leaving and going and appearance and disappearance. And why does Krishna have to go to Gokula? He went to the teacher to study. Why did he do that, right? And to be able to understand, that Krishna is transcendental, he has to do certain things which are not possible by those who are in the embodied body, bhutana, right? The souls who are in these embodied bodies, they will not be able to perform those things. For example, you are 5-year-old and you hold the entire Govardhan hill in your little pinky finger. So he has to demonstrate these kinds of pastimes so that us foolish souls can accept that Krishna is indeed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so I'll stop here. We have a few minutes. If there are any questions or reflections, I will take those now. Otherwise, we get a time debate.
It's very good. Krishna Leelas are very good. And then how see his other incarnation, Vamana, how he did and what we got. It was really bringing Ganga and other things also. It's really amazing. And then like you said that when you are saying that four-handed Krishna and then two-handed, I always feel that picture that Vishnu stands with four hands, and then baby Krishna will be there in where Devaki Vasudeva will be there. So that picture is beautiful. When you're saying that, I can imagine that picture. So,
right.
And
Madhuri,
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Madhuri, can you kindly give me once again the reason why Lord has said here, I am the Lord of all living entities. In this context, as you said, it was not required. And
No, I'm not saying that it is not required. Correction. Yeah, very important correction. We don't look at the Bhagavad-gita and say this was not required. Right? And the reason is if we think that if somehow we are trying to understand it, and this thought might come to the mind that, here was a thought process from Krishna, and there is a topic that we are discussing, and that is the topic of birth and, how things are being born. And all of a sudden, why is Krishna talking about this? That he's the
I meant that only. I'm sorry.
No, words have to be you have to be very careful with words with Krishna and Krishna's things, right? It becomes blasphemy. And so here, what I was saying was that he is trying to emphasize, he's emphasizing this, that, he is the control, although he may look like the same, two hands, seems to be growing from a child to a youth, right? Seems to be doing that, so that I might get into the tendency that he's the same. That's what Kansa was doing, right? He saw him as a small child and thought, I'll kill him. Putna saw him as a small child, and thought that I will be able to give him poisoned milk and kill him, right? But we have to understand that he's the supreme controller. And this simple sentence that he's the supreme controller has got a very deep meaning and a very deep connection. Supreme controller just doesn't mean that because he controls everything, so through his power, this huge earth is rotating, the sun is rotating, the planets and the, you see Mahavishnu from the pores of his body, all these are coming up. He's a big controller. Not only that, he also controls everything that we do. He's controller of our destiny also, right? He gives his sanction for things to happen. So when things don't happen in our lives, rather than trying to fix it, which we try to do through material means, right? Rather than trying to fix it through material means, we should understand. And this is also something that Brahma says in his prayers, Tattenu kampam susamikshamano, right? He says that, when bad things happen to devotees, they just say that, Krishna, I deserve worse, and it is your compassion, your anukampa, your special mercy on me that I'm deserving less. So only when you understand, only when we are in that mood to say that and accept that Krishna is the supreme controller, will we get into that mood. So just because you are seeing him born, right, through the womb of Devaki, or as Vamana through the womb of Aditi, don't get into that idea that he's like me, he's like us, like that. Yeah. So subtly he has just brought in the word controller, like that.
Thank you,
Sukumar
Bhakti.
Radhimataji, yeah, you're welcome.
And thank you so much for correcting me. I'll be careful.
I live to be corrected.
Yeah.
Shraddha-mataji, sometimes, a lot of times we read that Krishna says, although I am unborn. So what exactly does that mean?
Yeah.
Although I'm unborn.
Yeah, although I'm unborn. See, like for us, there is a beginning. Like for my life, it started 6 decades ago, right? Before that, I was not there. So my life started at a certain point in time, right? He's saying he's unborn because Krishna is there forever. That is the definition. Anadi Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So there is no beginning to Krishna. So he's unborn, but he will appear as if he's being born. So we have to understand this, that it's not that Krishna is being born and there is his body and that this body is growing and, now it has become youth. Like that. His body is still the same because it's transcendental body. He's just showing pieces to you. Just as
that means he's transcendental. He's always there. He's always been there from millennium.
Yeah, exactly.
So then why is it unborn? Why is
unborn means that he's not born in our concept of born, right? Like a little baby is born, and they have babies. My granddaughter was not there, 3 years ago, and she was born on a certain date, right? That kind of a thing is not there for Krishna, that we can say, okay, 650 million years ago, Krishna was created. It's very difficult for us to understand that how can somebody be there all the time? And the reason is because we think in the compartments of time. To go to that level of consciousness where we are not bound by time is a very difficult thing for us to do as embodied beings. And the only way that we can transcend that boundary and go to that level of consciousness is through devotional service and nothing else. No vitamins, no injections, no surgery, no creams from Vindhyavali Mataji are going to give us that knowledge. We have to be we have to do devotional service, and from there knowledge comes as a concomitant factor. Narad Muni says in the 5th chapter of first canto of Bhagavatam, says it comes like that, just by doing bhakti. So bhakti is extremely powerful. It gives you a lot of,
Even today morning I was going through the class, Bhagavatam class. Yudhishthira Maharaj, after the Kurukshetra war, still he thinks that he has done a lot of sins, and how can he will come out of that? And then see, Krishna has his own plans.
Yeah.
But we don't know what he has in his plans. But even Yudhishthira Maharaj, he knows everything, and he's very much, he's named for Dharmaraj. But he himself was feeling about the Kurukshetra war, that, I must have, how can I go for this sins, this many people died in the war, which I didn't want to do that.
Right. Why does he think like that?
Because he was in, like at that moment, he's not like Krishna. He doesn't have all the future.
But why does he have this compassion?
Because he is named
Because
for
he
the
is a
Devotee.
dash. Devotee, exactly.
devotee.
Yeah, he's a devotee, so that's why devotees think like that. Right? So he's having this compassion. Although, here's the interesting thing. And that is that Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad-gita talks about that, if we kill all the people and the elders are gone and people are gone, and then he said that Varna Sankara, if they are gone, Varna Sankara will be born, unwanted kids will be born. But then, so then he has got everything right? All his arguments are right. Then why is Krishna, asking him to still fight the war? Because we don't get the finer aspect of it. And that is that Krishna came here, dharma sansthapanarthaye sambhavani yuge yuge. So the kings, if we allow the Kauravas to rule, if you allowed Dushashan and Duryodhan to rule, then no woman would have a sari on her body.
That's true.
Right? So sometimes it is important to kill the wrong ones, right? And that happens even in the states, right? Even the government, they will hang people till they die or put them in an electrical chair till they die, because it is important to remove the weeds. It is important to do that, right? So actually, if you were to let Duryodhan stay alive and Dushashan stay alive, then Varna Shankaras will be definitely born. Definitely born. So yeah, so there's a deeper meanings. I see Varshana Mataji raising her hand.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, this thing came up now, context that why Yudhishthira Maharaj had to go for to play that gambling game.
You tell me.
Why was it?
You tell me, what do you think?
Because it was a bet, and he had to honor the bet. No?
Vindhyavali Mataji is excited, but she's on the mute.
But Kshatriyas, Kshatriya thing, and they can do that gambling. And then Krishna, he wanted, they asked for it, for gambling.
Yeah,
and
the root cause is they are a Kshatriya.
Is that.
Yeah. They are Kshatriya, and again, also remember, it is Dwapar. It is not Kali Yuga. The rules for Kali Yuga are different. There are different rules for different yugas and different varnas. He's a king. When he's challenged for a game, he has to honor that. In as much as, Bhima, right? Who was that lady? Hidimba wanted to marry Bhima. And then Kunti says that you have to marry her. When a woman in those days used to approach a Kshatriya and say, you marry me, then he has to do it. Why? Because a husband gives protection and a Kshatriya gives protection. So he has to marry her. So those were different times, different thing. And also, it is also Krishna's plan to make it happen. So how nicely Krishna has made this plot of this story. You take the rule of that particular thing, and then all the unwanted population of the world is removed.
Mataji, I heard in one of the lectures, I could not understand. That is why I'm asking this question to you. This was.
Why didn't you ask me that? You
no, Mataji, it was not
recorded.
It was
recorded. Okay, yeah, interactive.
Recorded.
Okay.
So, Mataji, I wanted to know because they were. He was given a curse, Yudhishthira, that you will be the cause of whole Kaurav destruction.
That's fine. See, curses are not always bad. See, that's what we are trying to see, that these plots are so complicated. These plots are so complicated. What is happening is dharma glanir. There's a decline in religion that is happening, right? Okay. So now these have got to be killed. So somebody somewhere will give a curse. For example, Manigriva and Nalkovera. They were the rich, spoiled sons of Kuber, right? And they have to be made into devotees. But what happens in between their being the spoiled brats and they becoming a devotee? What happens? A curse comes in between. Narad Muni curses them to become trees. So these curses that are there, read any of the curses.
in fact, I asked the question, Mataji, today morning. He said, you know what, when Draupadi was taking the sari, and then everybody is in the sabha, they were not protecting. And Dharmaraj, his name is Dharma. He's for Dharma, everything. How come he just didn't say anything to his for wife? Duryodhana is doing like that. Then that answer also was very good answer she gave me today's class. I said, for husbands, what they say in the marriage, dharmecha adhecha nati charami. So for everything, husband will protect. But whereas 5 husbands, they didn't protect her. So
You tell me, what was the status?
When I asked that, they were already sold out at that time.
They
were servants because they're
Absolutely.
already, because before that they were already servants. In that bet, one after the other, he's losing. Dharmaraj is losing for Kaurava in that gambling. So he lost that. They were all servants. Servant doesn't have any voice. That was really very touching.
So what happens to us is, and so what we have to take, and I don't want to just pinpoint on you, is the mood in which we read the Shastras. We already know that these are Pandavas, these are devotees, right? So even to sit and think in our minds that Yudhishthira is wrong, that this is wrong, it's actually Vaishnava Prada. Right? So our mood when we are reading all these things should be, I mean, some people are agitated. You talk to any woman in the corporation, in my office, they're all like, what are you talking about? The woman, he dumped her, he did this, he did that. Well, this is the problem we are discussing in Kali Yuga. So we have to understand this thing very, very clearly. That the mood in which we read,
good answer.
Right. And Prabhupada clarifies that. Read the Bhagavad-gita as a bhakta. Read the Mahabharata as a bhakta. Don't read it, from various perspectives and questioning. Why did Krishna
The question I asked is normal human being I asked. But the answer is these scriptures and what Prabhupada wrote.
Exactly. And Prabhupada always says you have to have faith in the scripture. If you don't have faith in the scripture, then there's no point reading this. Why are you reading this? It's intellectual exercise then. I learned some Sanskrit, I learned some slokas, I do this and I do that. But the essence of all these classes is you have to become a bhakta, you have to become a better person. And if you want to know what is a bhakta and the qualities of a devotee, go read chapter 13 of Bhagavad-gita. It lists all of them, right? What a devotee is supposed to do. So the essential thing is very important, and it's very simple. Bhakti is very, very simple. Bhakti is not complicated. Bhakti doesn't mean you have to understand and read all the Vedas. You don't have to read it, right? All that you're saying is in this file, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. There's nothing else for us to do other than take the holy names of the Lord, because everything is there in his name. Krishna manifests ourselves in the form of Archavigra, in the temple, in the form of his name. And if you're lucky, Krishna will knock the door of your house. That is, he comes by himself. Sambhavami yuge. He comes here like that, right? But it is Divyam. His birth is transcendental.
There's also another thing is when she met with an accident, I felt, oh God, what is this happening to my family? They're like this. That girl is like that, and this one is. But again, like you said, Mataji, it must have had more than this, but Krishna reduced this one.
Yeah, reduce this. And one of the things also about sufferings in life one has to remember is that every suffering and every birth actually leads to a little bit, all the sufferings in the birth, they lead to a little bit improvement in the devotional service. In our devotional progress. And why do they lead to devotional progress? Not because we become better chanters or we become better this or better that at Arthi Thali and all that, Arti Thali, but all these painful points, that moments that we have, make you think about attachments in life, right? And also realize that this particular world is nothing but a place of miseries. And this beautiful body that we have is nothing but a bag of miseries. That is all. And that is why you see there are more miseries in the old age. See, we start young, everybody's nice, cute, kuchiku, they pick up, we want toffee, lollipop, that is what life is, right? And then we grow up, beautiful youth, oh, this is beautiful. We get a good job, oh, I'm powerful, I'm money, I've got youth, I've got beauty, I've got a nice spouse. Life cannot be any better than that, right? And then we have kids, they look so cute. that we spend 21 years with them till they settle, right? And then, we realize that the knee cap has to be replaced, and there's stone in the kidneys, and this is this. So why is this happening in the old age? Why are we constructed in this way? It's to remind you that this is what it is, to remind you that death is going to come, to remind you don't get too much attached to the body. But we do, no matter how bad the body becomes, no matter how many wrinkles we have, how many hip replacements we had, no matter denture is there, whatever is there, I can't eat chapatis, I can't eat anything. Okay, like fine, like there's no point living over here. No. Let me put the dal chapati in a mixie and then I will.
Yeah, then I'll drink it.
This is who we are, right? Yeah, this is who we are. So heavy topic.
Thank you so much, Mother. Today, every class is wonderful, but today, I really.
But every Saturday we say that. But today was the best. But today was the best.
Yeah. Yes, you are right, Superman Mataji. Mataji, today I specifically I this felt, when you said we call him a thief. But everything belongs to him. How can he be a thief?
I'm sure.
But that's also one of his pastimes, because he went to all the gopis' houses and he stole the butter. So he actually stole the butter from their home. So that's why they would all come to Yashoda and say, he stole our butter. But that was also in love only.
Before that, what had he stolen? But before the butter, what had he stolen of the gopis?
Their hearts.
The hearts. That's the thing to remember. That
nobody seems to complain for that.
Nobody seems to complain for that. And then you might not realize, but he has stolen our hearts also. Otherwise, what are we doing here 5,000 years later? Some man came. And you are like, okay, on Ekadashi, I won't eat anything. Okay, Janmashtami, I won't eat anything. What is this going on? It is love.
And
so he steals your heart. And once he steals your heart, he never lets you go. Once he catches you.
You clarified this concept, Aja, is also very well. You see, the sun is always there. We can't see, that's a different story. Right. But it is always there. So if sun can be unborn, so Krishna is also unborn.
Shana Mataji, you have sun there. Sun went to you from here. We don't have sun here today now. It's night for us.
Sun is about.
Yeah, your sun is
come up there.
Right. Yeah.
It's so hot these days. My God.
Very good class, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shraddha Mataji.
Krishna Katha, maybe we should wind it up. We are 10 minutes over our regular time. And I don't know, today Khyati Mataji didn't do anything.
Now I'll give you your number, Mataji, to her.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
She might call you.
Yeah, I might be very busy tomorrow. Danvat pranam, Simi Mataji, Shruti
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Mataji.
All day they are quiet. We're talking.
All of them are. Simi Mataji, say something. She has been busy delivering Chaitanya Charitamrita sets.
No, Mataji, just one.
Well, I didn't even do that. Yeah, okay, good.
I miss you all so much, Mataji, sitting here. I'm giving the hug to everybody. Please accept.
Yeah, same to you.
Mataji, I am sitting in Philadelphia. I am not going to California too.
But you are doing service in your temple. That's good enough.
Doing service, but I'm missing all of you.
Here we all are.
There. I will come there too. I don't know.
But
I had good time in temple too.
I'm doing nothing, Mataji, here. I don't go to the temple only. The other day, I went and met Vidyavadhu Mataji. We sat together for some time.
Fantastic. Very nice. Vaishnava, matchitta matagata prana, bojayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. When you sit down and you talk about Krishna, then you feel very good, right? And when this Krishna Katha is happening, how many ears do you want? Millions of ears, right? And how many tongues? Shruti Mataji, how many tongues do you want to glorify Krishna? Shruti?
Yes, Mataji.
How many tongues do you want? Jivha, to glorify Krishna.
A lot means too much.
Too many. Like millions, right? Yeah, millions of tongues we want. See? And to hear Krishna Katha, we want millions of
I
years.
think Shipala says that, no, Mataji? To praise you, many tongues we need.
Right. Okay, yeah, there's from Vedagda Madhava story, the play by Rupa Goswami also, he says, Karna Krodha Kadambani Katayate. Right. So when the name of Holy Krishna enters into my ears, I want hundreds such crores of such ears. Yeah. And then it Cheto Prangana, then it goes into the courtyard of my heart, and then it starts dancing over there. Then all these material senses that I have, they become useless. So that's the power of the holy name. Yeah. So let's go sit down and chant an extra round, maybe today. Above the 16, I gave you homework. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevcha patitana pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha gopremanande hari hari bol. Thank you for joining, devotees.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you. Tomorrow
See you
morning.
tomorrow.
Okay, Mata.